Hi, this is Vic. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing and review of the QSC TouchMix-16. This is my first unboxing, so give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel. We hope to be doing a few more of these in the future. I've been really excited to get this. I ordered it before it shipped, and I was not the first one to get it. And I was very sad about that, but I knew who I wanted to buy it from, and I just waited and waited, and it finally got here. It just got here today. One of the nice things about the TouchMix is it comes with its own travel case. The QSC TouchMix-16 is approximately $1,300, and out of the box you can see we have a quick start guide, and here's a close-up of the compact digital mixer guide, just like a quick start guide here, how to hook it up and what some of the possibilities are. Limited warranty, and some safety information that nobody ever reads. It also came with a couple of stickers. I already know that I like the QSC brand, so I'm certain that I'm going to be putting that on some of my gear. Okay, let's get down to it and get inside this box, because I'm really excited to see the new mixer. Alright, the case is not bad. It's pretty well stitched, kind of light for my taste though. But there it is. We have some soft stuff in here, hard shell, probably some dense poly, whatever. Don't really know what that is. And some straps to keep the lid from falling back, but right now it's keeping the lid from staying up. So we're going to hold that up there while we get the power supply and the board out. And I'll just give you a close-up here of the box, and really that's all it is. Just some material covered dense foam and a couple of nylon straps, and that's it. So there you go. For me, I'm going to get an external case, probably another case to house it a little nicer. Okay, let's get inside the power supply here. We're going to open that, and it comes with a decent length and decent length power supply cord. And then we have the power supply itself, and let's get the TouchMix out of the bag. Alright. Take the safety sticker off the screen. I hope you found that unboxing useful. Now let's get into some of the features and functions of the board. Let's start with the back of the board. Over here on the left side, you'll notice two USB inputs. If you notice that there's a dongle right here, it came with the board, and it's a Wi-Fi dongle. Right after that is a port labeled accessory only. That's a Ethernet port. And then the power comes right after that. To the right of that is the talkback input, and then the main right and left XLRs. Right next to that, aux 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pretty simple back panel. As we move over here to the front of the board, one of the first things that strikes you is the 16 XLR inputs. If you notice, 1 through 12 look like normal XLR jacks, and 13 through 16 look like some weird combination. It's exactly what it is. It is a combination of XLR and 1/4 inch. They come in very handy. Don't let the odd look of it throw you. Now as we come over here to the right some more, we'll see the 1/4-inch patch bay. You have 17 and 18 stereo in, 19 and 20 stereo in. That makes a very full-featured 20-channel stereo board. He calls it a compact stereo board, but it really is a full 16-channel board with a couple of more stereo inputs, very nicely equipped. And then down here is aux out 7 and 8 and aux out 9 and 10. So that gives you a total of 10 auxiliary channels, which comes in real handy for monitor mixes. Gives you a great set of monitors, and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 you can plug in-ear monitors directly in, and you have no need for any other amplification than this. So I think that's really cool. And then the last 2 1/4-inch patches are the phone's cue and the monitor cue. The phone's cue is for things like pre-fade listen, and then the monitor cue is where you would put, if you were in a studio, you'd put your monitor speakers. That's about that. All right, as we move over here to the Phantom and Standby section, what I want to do is get a timer going, because at this point we're going to boot the board so that you can see what the boot time is. So I'll set my timer up here. I'll get my Phantom finger over here to start the board boot and go. All right, I just wanted to show this to you. It is all plugged in, but I had that turned off so that you could see how long the initial boot takes. All right, so Phantom 48 volts is for phantom power. If you don't know what that is, look it up. I encourage you to educate yourself. You can also ask down in the comment area, and I'll try to get back to you just as soon as possible. All right, so Phantom powers your microphones and other gear that takes power, and it's available on every individual channel. And then your standby button, you see the board's starting right now. I didn't even push the button. It boots up on its own once you plug it in. And then that button truly is for standby. We're almost booted here. It takes about 51 seconds. All right, and it's not too long, but just good for you to know that it's going to take a little bit of time for the initial boot. All right, let's get rid of that. All right, now we'll take a look at the Wizard and Info buttons. The Wizard button sets us up to the Effects Wizard and Gain Wizard. The Effects Wizard aids us in adding effects to channels and routing effects to monitors. The Gain Wizard aids us in adjusting analog input gains to avoid clipping and distortion. Then we move to the Info button. Now this is possibly the most fascinating button on the board. Imagine being able to carry a digital manual with you everywhere you go. That's what that is. The whole manual is right in the board. And if I'm not mistaken, it's context sensitive. And when you add an iPad to the mix and you go and get their iPad app, that gets you the very same manual on the iPad as well. Really like that. All right, now let's go to the aux, effects mute, and mute group buttons, and we'll go ahead and switch the screen here to the auxiliary. This gives us a good overview of all of the aux outputs, outputs, and just gives us a good look at what's going on in that section of the board. Effects mute is exactly what it says. It mutes all the effects instantly, all at once. We'll get to effects later on in this tutorial. And then over here to the mute groups, this is really cool because you can set up 8 different mute groups and you turn them on and off right here. What's a mute group, you may ask? So if you have channels 1 through 4 vocals and 5 through 9 drums, right on down the line with your different instruments and whatnot, you can mute them individually with normal muting, or you can mute them as groups as you set them up. And it doesn't have to be all of the vocals, it could just be your 3 background vocals, let's say, or however you decide to set that up. Let's go right down to phones, and if you notice here on the touch panel, there's your phone's volume right there. And then your talkback mic, and all this button does, you notice it's not changing the screen. All this talkback button does is turn on and off your talkback mic. And then your monitors, it turns your phone's Q up and down. That's your headphone volume. And then over here you have all your user buttons, U1 through 4, and then the command wheel. Really, I think this should be called a segment wheel or something because there's a click for each turn. I think it's fruity that they call it the command wheel, but that's what they named it. And you see a cue here that says press for fine. You can press it, and I don't know if you can hear the click, but it is very tactile and really good. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. You can see it move here. There's the fine adjustment, and here's the coarse adjustment. And it doesn't only work on the Q setting, it also works right here on the faders. There's your coarse, and if you notice up here it just went point, and it's giving you a very fine adjustment. Now I'd like to talk about how some of these controls interact with the touch screen. We'll start with U1, and that button selects the next channel to the left. Now if you notice, none of these channels are selected, so if I touch U1, it's going to light up channel 1. If I jump over here to U4 and I touch it, it will go to the right as many times as I touch it. And then what will happen is the control knob will make that fader go up or down. Okay. U2, on the other hand, will clear all your clips. Now, because I don't have anything plugged into the board, you won't be able to see this, but if we have any clipping on the board, it'll be indicated by a red line, probably right here in the meter. You touch U2, and it'll clear those clips. The button marked 0 with a line through it will take your fader and return it to the home position. So for faders 1 through 16, infinite is the home position. For your mains, unity is your home position. Alright, moving on to user 3 button. This will clear the cues. So you're going to use your cues, otherwise known as a pre-fade listen, to hear what's going on the channel regardless of where your fader is. Okay, so you'll be able to hear, if these cues are pressed, you'll be able to hear what's coming into the channel. This button, U3, will clear those cues, so you can start from 0. Alright, and then moving on to user button 4, that is the next to right, which I already told you. Alright, so now you have the 3 soft buttons here, plus your trim pots that I didn't cover yet. So the trim pots are typical for an analog board. What it does is it matches the incoming signal to the channel. I wish I had something to show you right now that was coming into the board so you could see. Suffice it to say that this will make it so that you don't clip and that you have enough signal coming into the board. Let's get somewhere into the board. So we're going to press the label right there on the board. So that one was called VIX Vox. It doesn't matter which one you hit. It'll send you to the main control panel, or the FAT channel, they call it on some boards. That'll give you everything you need for that particular channel. It's like your channel strip on steroids. Alright, so we're going to go back home, and then we're going to go back to my channel, and then we're going to go into the EQ. We're right here, into the compressor, into the presets. Now we want to get back home because we were done enhancing anything. All you got to do is press that home button enough times and it will bring you back to the home screen. The next button on the list is the menu. When you press it, you'll get to the menu where you can select scenes or your DCA groups. I'll probably wind up explaining what digitally controlled amplifier means in a later video. Think of it right now as groups. It's a little different than that, but you could think of it like that. You can also, from the menu, get your auxiliary overview, which you can also get by pressing the aux key, same place, and then your effects overview. And then you have the record play button. Record play button is really cool because it is your recorder. And you can record, let's say you have your band playing and you just want to record the entire thing. What you could do is go to the specific channel. In fact, let me go back here for a minute, and I notice that we have a button that will arm each channel. So when you press record, the only channels that are being recorded are the ones that are armed. The next thing we'll see in the menu is mixer setup. Now, I don't have much experience with this. I've only owned the board about a week now, and I haven't taken this one out on any gigs yet, but I've been playing around with it, and it is super intuitive. So let's see. Just start right up here with the Q mode. You can either have PFL, which stands for pre-fade listen, or AFL, which stands for after fade listen. You can choose your favorite way of listening as you prefer. I prefer to have it set to PFL. It's very handy and intuitive. Your sample rate comes after that. You either have it set at 44.1 or at 48 kilohertz. And then your demo mode. This one is one I wanted to show you, but I haven't had the chance to let the board go into demo mode yet. What happens is a bunch of screens, a bunch of preset pictures come up that try to sell you on different aspects of the board. And that's cool until after about the 4th or 5th time it does it, then you'll want to shoot somebody. So just come over here, instead of going out and buying a 48, turn that off, and the demo mode will bother you no more. Alright, and then you have the display brightness. You don't have to go around like this. It's a pain in the neck. You can just touch the knob and drag it down or up. Or if it is selected, you can come over here to the wheel and do that very same thing. You have your clear storage button, and what that does is it clears your presets and scenes. Then over here we have the EULA, the End User License Agreement. You will have plenty of time in your free time to just enjoy yourself reading this. We all love EULAs, don't we? Alright, let's go back one. Better yet, let's go right home. And then we'll go back into the mixer setup. And after the EULA, you have your same save system log to the USB. So what that'll let you do is you put a USB back in here, and then you're able to save it to the USB and then go on another QSC TouchMix and load those settings. Very handy. This button will allow us to upgrade the board, and there is a warning sign here that tells you the mixer will go offline if you proceed, and we'll cancel that. And then this button tells us to reset our mixer, and we don't want to do that right now, so we're not going to touch it. Over here is a reset network button, the mixer name, which you can change very easily, and the network password, which you can change very easily. We'll get to how these are used very shortly. Alright, back to the menu now. Here's your talkback mic. For the talkback mic, for those of you who don't know what a talkback mic is, it allows you to put your voice, so you have a talkback input right here. It's just like using one of your channels, except you don't have to use one of your channels. You can use the talkback channel, and you can put your voice right into aux 1 through aux 10, or the mains, or any of the effects channels. It's very handy for when you need to communicate to the talent on stage. You also have your talkback mic volume. Here's your talkback on-off switch. And you have a noise generator. We'll get into the noise generator and what it does and its uses probably on another video. Going back to the menu, after the talkback, you have Mic Phantom. What Mic Phantom means is it allows you to provide power to any of the mic channels, so that if you have a condenser mic that takes power, or a DI box that takes power, you can power it right from your board. You don't need another outboard power supply or a battery. So one of the ways that you can do that is come over here to Phantom Mic and just touch the channel that you want power on. Or another way that you can do that is from the channel strip. You can come up here, maybe not. You can come up here to setup, and from setup you can put on your phantom power. You can also arm it to record, and you can also shift your phase. So this is called polarity, and you can reverse it, or you can have it normal. For those of you who don't know what I just did, that's another tutorial. Sorry about that. Or you can look up on another YouTube channel, phase reversal for audio mixers. Alright, back to the menu. And we made it through the menu. If we look here on the right hand side, we see clear clips, clear mute, clear cue. That's all over here too. And then we have set screen mode. Advanced. Are you sure that you want to set all screens to advanced edit mode? We'll say no for now. And simple. And you get the same question about the simple edit mode. And we'll say no to that also. And what this does, something really interesting. Let's go over here to my channel, the first channel here, and we're going to go to EQ for a minute. And if you notice, we have a whole bunch of knobs on 4 channels of the EQ. So we can affect 4 separate mixes here, 4 separate frequencies for the EQ. And we can also adjust not only the gain, but also the frequency and the bandwidth. This is a very handy feature, but if you don't know how to use this kind of equalizer, it can be really confusing. So what they do is provide a simple button. If you notice in this screen, it's right here. When you put it to simple, watch what happens to these knobs down here. It takes them all away except for the gain. Now all you can do is raise or lower the gain on a preset frequency, which for the low is 80 hertz, and for the low mid is 400 hertz, right on down the line. But when you go into the not simple mode, you can not only affect the gain of the frequency, but you can also select what frequency you're affecting, and you can select the width of that frequency. If I just blew your minds with that one, fantastic. I hope you dig into this and find out more about parametric EQ. It is a very useful tool. I would have given my eye teeth to have this on a board when I was in my 20s. Man, it would have been great. All right, now you understand what simple does in EQ at least. Let's go over to compressor and see what it does here. If you notice, simple is right here. Now let's say you're a noob. Let's go ahead, go back to the menu, and let's hit simple right there, and we're going to select yes, we want to go to simple. If we go back home and go to my channel, if you notice, the compressor and the EQ and the gate are all set to simple. If you're a first timer on a soundboard and you want to do this, that is fantastic. That's why this board is so good for beginners. But let me encourage you, beginner, to start playing with the more complicated mode so you can teach yourself these things. What a great tool. Now we're back here on the home screen, and we'll go across the top row, show you a little bit about that. Top row, you can see inputs 1 through 8, 9 through 16, and what this is an overview. And if you notice here, look a little closer, it has all your fader indications, and the very last one is up a little bit, and what that's indicating is the very last fader, which would be fader 8, is up a little higher. And if you look here, while I'm raising fader 1, that one goes up. And where this comes in handy is if you're in another screen, you can look here just briefly and see that yes, you do have faders 1 and 8 up a little higher than all the rest. So that'll help you in just getting a really quick overview of what your mix may have, so that you can come down and shut anything off. And then the next section over, you have stereo in and 2-track, and what this is your faders for 1718, 1920, which you get to right here, and then it also has your 2-track playback and 2-track record. Right. Then your effects masters, you'll come and you'll change your effects in there, and then your masters are right here, and then you have your aux outputs here. These control your monitors typically, and then over here you have your DCA groups. For just a quick explanation of how you use a DCA group is you choose a group of channels to put in DCA 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let me give you a quick example. So DCA 1 may include all your vocals. DCA 2 may include all your guitars. DCA 3 may include all your keyboards. And DCA 4 may include all your drums. So how and why do you use this? So if you're routing all the vocals to DCA 1 and you have DCA 1 at 0, you will have 0 output no matter where your vocal faders are. Let's say you have vocals in 1 through 4 on your board and you have them all up, but if you have it routed through a DCA, your volume will be at 0 if it is at 0. and then when you move your DCA up, it essentially moves all of your faders together up or down, except you don't see that on the board. It just happens because it's a digitally controlled amp. Okay, so getting back to the DCA, practical use for that would be if you have a really good mix, let's say on your drums. You have all of the individual pieces mixed correctly, except let's say on one song your drummer's feeling an extra shot of adrenaline and he starts drumming his heart out and he's way too loud for the room, so you just take that DCA that the drummer's on and bring it down a little bit. Unless he's a poor drummer, then you can bring him down a lot. Alright, one of the best features about this board is that you can connect up to 10 iDevices. So I wanted to bring that out right here. We have an iPad, and if you notice, when you move a fader on the iPad, it automatically goes up on the board. Now, while that's cool to watch, ooh look, magic, it's much more functional if the iPad has one screen on it while the board has another. So right now we are at 1 through 8 on the iPad, and if you notice here on the board, fader 2 goes up as I move fader 2 on the iPad. But we are in screen 9 through 16 on the board, and we can work those independently. Another good use is you can take your iPad into another part of the room and do the entire mix from that other part of the room for whatever reason you would want, whether that may be to hear the other part of the room, or maybe you're a band member and you're on stage and it's not convenient for you to put the board on stage for whatever reason, but you still need functionality from the stage, so you can have the iPod or iPad there. If you're a band member and you don't want to have control of the house mix, you can have just your auxiliaries, and you can control your mix into the monitor from there, which is very handy also. Whether that be your in-ears or a wedge monitor, you can do either one right from there. Alright, another handy use for the iPad and the board is you can have the board selected for inputs 1 through 8 or 9 through 16, while your board has a channel selected, and maybe you are affecting the EQ of a particular channel or the effects of a particular channel, and they will all happen in real time just like you were using the board. And if you notice, the interface of the iPad app is quite the same as the board, with your home menu, record play buttons, and remember I was talking about the info, the whole manual built in. It's also right here in your iPad as well. I hope that answered some of the questions you had going into this. Now let's take a quick look at some of the pros and cons of this board. I didn't know where to end this video. It's to be truthful, as I'm going through this board, and I'm really going through it in earnest for one of the first times here, it's a little overwhelming. It's you can do so much with it, but to hit on some major points, what I right now feel after using it only once in the field is a downside to it that I'm experiencing right here in front of the camera is its shakiness on the responsiveness of the touch screen. Sometimes it is dead on, and other times it's iffy. That could be a firmware upgrade. I'm going to look into that, get it updated to the latest firmware, and I might solve it. And then the other thing biggest thing is the connectivity to the iPad. One of the main reasons I purchased this is because it was able to connect to an iPad. You can actually connect to 10 iProducts at one time, which is very, very handy, especially for the band to be able to control their monitors. And that's great, but it doesn't mean a thing if it won't maintain that connectivity. And it's a little shaky right now, but again, I'm going to upgrade the firmware and make sure everything's good on that front. On the plus side, man alive, the ability to do so many things in one very tiny package. You get a whole rack full of gear, compressors, limiters, gates, effects. Parametric EQ alone is worth the price of the board. Very intuitive, and you can dumb it down if you need to. So all of those pluses so far really outweigh any negative. I hope you enjoyed my very first unboxing and review ever, and I hope you will like the video and hopefully subscribe. That'll help us out. Tell your friends, and hope to see you again soon.